As we are going live, we'll stand by and see if that's true. And it says that you are live on the YouTubes. So the April Westlake Charter Board meeting is live. Board President Golick, you have the floor.
Thank you. So just to get the routine business out of the way, this meeting is being held pursuant to Executive Order N29-20, which authorizes local legislative bodies like us to hold public meetings via teleconference and to make meetings accessible telephonically or otherwise electronically to all members of the public. Members of the public are encouraged to participate in the teleconference. If you go to the bottom of our agenda, you can see how to participate. But essentially what you're going to do is send an email to admin@westlakecharter.com, put the item which you want to comment on in the subject line, and please keep your comments to 250 words or less. With that, Amy, will you please take the roll call?
Yep. Sure.
That's how it works. Yes.
Sean?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Josh?
Yes.
Michelle? Vasa?
Yes.
Ashley?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
And Jed. There you go.
Perfect. Celebrations. And Mr. Ike, since you agreed to lead the whip around, do you want to whip around?
I'd be glad to. I'm going to start in the bottom right corner, work my way back across. So I'm going to go Mrs. Patel, Nancy Kong Vasquez, and Amber Houston if she wants to play along. Patel, what do you got? You celebrating?
Yeah. I wasn't expecting to be first. I was looking at alphabetical.
Gotcha.
So I hadn't sorted my decision yet. I will celebrate. I was thinking a lot about this, and I will just take a personal one. I will celebrate my in-laws who have a lot of things going on with their lives, but jump in and do all the things, from buying me a birthday cake to taking my kids on unexpected notice to always making sure we have dinner or picking up like extra mangoes because they're in season they're just always taking care of us in really little ways that become really big at the end of the day. And I'm always grateful to them, and I don't shout them out enough probably. So I will shout them out.
A wonderful public shout out on YouTube. Nancy Kong Vasquez, Amber Houston, and Josh Carell.
So I was actually thinking about my celebration on my way home from my son's soccer game that I had to leave a little bit early out from Antelope. So it gave me a good 20 minutes from Antelope here to think about just the normalcy, celebrating normalcy of kids back at school, sports happening. I mean, it's not normal that we're playing in the spring, but it is just there's something about, just getting back to normal. And it's been amazing. And I think about all the people, who put their work into making it all happen. So thank you to teachers, admin, coaches, just really everybody who is making life as normal as it can be 1 year later after the pandemic was announced. So so I just want to celebrate a little bit of normal life and watching my son play soccer, and he was in goal. It was still 0-0, and someone just sent me an update and 0-1. So I'm actually really glad that I wasn't there to see him get scored on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Got it. So
it's all good.
Celebrate some normal. It's good.
Yeah.
Amber Houston, Josh Krill, and Sean Berman.
Hi. So I started to celebrate this during Coffee Talk the other night, but then we had some technical difficulties, so I want to do it again. Is that I've had multiple incoming 9th grade parents reach out, and these are current families and then some new families. And I wasn't expecting it, to be honest, and I was just really excited to see these parents say, like, we can't wait. We want to know more about WAVE, and we want to know how we can get involved. And I just think it's just really exciting to see it, especially at the high school age. So it's great.
I love it. We are going to have the most involved high school parents of all time because they'll be following you. You're the best. Josh Corral, Shaw Berman, Vasa Laktev.
My celebration is birthdays. I know that we have a board member who had a birthday this week, Ms. Patel. Happy birthday. And I know we have another board member who is expecting a birth of his son here in the near future, in Mr. Laktev. So I just wanted to celebrate birthdays. And I apologize if there's anybody that I missed. Those are the only two I know of right now. But it's still just kind of a cool feeling. Birthdays are just a lot of fun, and I love celebrating them. So I wanted to do that.
Perfect. Thanks, Josh.
I just add on one real fast, John. Because Michelle Gibbons' birthday was last week, so we have a lot of April birthdays on this board, so that's pretty awesome. Sorry, Josh, I just felt like I'd do a shout out in case she's watching.
It's beautiful. Sean Berman, Vasa Laktev, and Shannon Simmons.
Well, it's also my husband's birthday on Saturday, so there's another April birthday. Not that he's on the board. But my celebration is that I actually got to put my vet skills to use today by drawing up vaccines at the NUSD vaccine clinic. So that was super cool. And I'm going to do it again on Saturday, which is my main celebration, that they're doing a vaccine clinic where our 16 and 17-year-olds can go and get themselves vaccinated, including my oldest, which is very exciting.
Oh, that is super cool. My son is getting a vaccine at that clinic on Saturday, and maybe that shot will be drawn by Sean Berman. That would just be full circle for me, man. I love it.
I want them both down my row, so make sure they find me. Because I'll be there, keeping them awake for their 15 minutes.
That's right. Perfect. We'll go Vasa, we'll go Shannon, and if Emily Batten wants to play, we'll let her play along too. Vasa, what do you got, man?
Oh, man. I did get a nice water and snack from none other than Amy Wells on my second vaccination. It was comforting, of course. Big celebration to our parents. I talked to a couple parents on the phone today. They're both working. They got kids that are in and out of the bedrooms, and teenagers or middle schoolers on the Chromebooks. Just still, doing that balancing act and working through this pandemic. I feel like, we're transitioning maybe back to some normalcy, but, our parents are still at home navigating life in this new kind of dynamic. And then also big, I just think as the teacher representative, it's important for me to say, during this time, the teachers are so appreciative of our staff and of our board who provides like the little things. Like there was a little form that went out, like, what do you need? Some teachers are like, well, I need some sparkling water. I need a bag of, popcorn. Those little things, those little things, they may seem like, well, don't buy the teacher a bag of popcorn, but those little things, for teacher retention and attrition that we show, hey, we're going to take care of you. It doesn't, a couple bucks here and there, I think really makes a big difference to the overall positivity and mood and climate on our campus. So that's my celebration.
Yeah, the staff takes good care of each other. Everyone on this team takes care of each other. It's good stuff. Shannon, and then Emily Batten and A-Dub.
Well, now I'm going to future celebrate. I'm excited that I can finally volunteer at a vaccination clinic this Saturday since everyone's going to be there. It's going to be a big party. But I was just going to celebrate, I guess, in the vein of return to safe normalcy, is just having had my first house guest in a year. And so, yeah, it was just very, very nice to see a friend, hug a friend, have someone be able to be here. And I think I also appreciate just in general, the grace that we are hopefully all exhibiting to one another as we re-enter society, because I have definitely been having some awkward interactions of I don't know how to be human, and we're all just kind of helping each other along with that. So I appreciate that, and I will preemptively appreciate that if and when I see you all in person again.
Yeah, I love the grace for the awkward, are we handshaking, elbow pump it, what are we doing here? Yeah, it's wonderful. Emily Batten, A-Dub, Steve Corbin, if you're playing along. Em?
I have two very quick ones. One, I just have reflected on this past year of getting to be, I've always come to board meetings, but getting to sit and report on high school, and that through this year of kind of turmoil and lots going on, that our organization, this board, has continued to have celebrations, genuine celebrations about what we're doing. And so I just think that's something to celebrate in a year where there's been a lot maybe that we wouldn't want to celebrate. my other celebration piggybacks on Amber's, which is just celebrating our ninth graders. We have a group of students. I think tonight we'll talk about the total number of students, but a group of students that are going to come with us from 8th grade into ninth grade, and we're so excited about those students. And then joining them to form our ninth grade class is a group of students who've come to us through our lottery. And I've had so many each day I get a chance to interact with those students intentionally through soliciting their voice for different parts of our high school development project, but also just through emails of like, hey, what's this going to look like? Or what are we doing here? Or can I give an opinion? And I can't wait for all of you to meet these students as ninth graders and get to walk the halls and see them in class, hopefully, in the near future. And so I'm just celebrating all of them because I cannot wait to be their principal next year.
It already seems like a phenomenal group. A-Dub, Steve Corvink, and then Jed Wallace. You'll be up after Steve.
So I would like to celebrate spouses, yours, because when I put the call out that I was in a pinch and I needed volunteers and you guys were all busy doing the things that you're doing, many of you ponied up your spouses. And so I appreciate that. I appreciate that your spouses jumped in and called when I called and said, yes, I'll be there, and they came and stood out in the sun and on the blacktop at Natomas Unified with me while we vaccinated people. And a special shout out to Amber, who has come almost every single Thursday with me and ponied up her spouse when she couldn't. And today, and each Thursday where we've said, we'll be done by 1, and we're not even close to being done by 1, she has extended her day and has spent the entire day with me. So I, from the bottom of my Westlake Blue Heart, appreciate you and all of your spouses.
You've done a great job organizing that effort, Amy Wells and Amber Husted. Thank you guys for making sure that Westlake Charter School is well represented out there, but that we're serving our entire Natomas community. Just good on you. You guys are really doing outstanding work. Steve Corvink, Jed Wallace, and bring it home with Hope Golick.
Yeah, so my celebration was actually going to be Amy Wells because I got a text from Amy this morning. I was like, is Amy on campus this morning? Because it didn't seem to fit. I'm like, oh, of course not. She's at the vaccination clinic, making it all happen. So a big shout out to you, Amy, for managing it for us and for being Westlake's point person down there, for rallying volunteers together and for making it happen. We certainly do appreciate it. Appreciate you.
Every project you touch right now, A-Dub's on fire. Jed Wallace and then Hope Golick.
Sorry that I didn't hear everybody else's celebrations. I'll keep mine really quick. I just remember a reference that Tess shared last week, which was commenting on what percentage of the kids at Intercom IB are actually graduating this year. And it was her observation that there was a significant percentage of the people that are graduating that actually had come from Westlake. And just speaks to the kind of preparation that we're offering, our kids. And I'm sure we're going to have kids go to a bunch of different high schools, but I know we're also going to have a lot of those kids, stay within, our new high school. And just made me excited about the things that we have accomplished in the past, and even more excited about the things that I know the organization will accomplish going forward.
Yeah, we'd love to see our students be successful. That is great news. Hope Golick, bring us home. What do you got?
So I have two. The first one is I just want to celebrate. I know we've celebrated teachers already tonight, but I think you can never celebrate teachers enough. And the adaptations that I've gotten the privilege to see in terms of in-class students over Zoom, making sure every student is met with what they need. And it's just awesome to see pictures. I believe it's of Miskits out in the quad teaching and hearing what I was going to say Sally Hoyt, but it's Hubbard, right? Mm-hmm. Have I got it? Okay. Well, what Sally Hubbard's, the steps she's taking to make sure that a math test is given appropriately for every student in her class, and it just amazes me. My second celebration is quick, and that is since Emily Batten is on this call, I have to celebrate her. Even though my daughter's past Westlake now, and it's going to be a sophomore next year, I can always text her with a question, and she gets really broad questions from me. And so I just want to thank her for always being there as a resource and someone who can help me navigate this fun thing called teens in high school. So I am super excited for all the ninth graders that are going to get to use her as a sounding board and to learn from her, because it's just going to be amazing.
Very good. Very good. I'm going to turn it back over to you, Hope. I'm going to do one quick celebration, and that is that there's a gentleman on this screen who's an incredibly hard worker. He's a wonderful teacher. We're celebrating teachers at this school this week, at this time. But this man, Vasa Loktev, just defended his dissertation and is now to be, understood to be Dr. Loktev. And we are so proud of you, Vasa, and all the incredible work you've done to complete that program and produce a quality dissertation while doing such an amazing job in your classroom and on this board. So congratulations, sir.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. All right, back to you, Hope. You turn it over to board comments.
Do any board members have comments on items that aren't on the agenda? Seeing none, I will just quickly share that I do expect a certain Mr. Ike to share out when he might be arguing his dissertation to the board, because we celebrate Vasa, but we also celebrate you and the hard work you've put in over the last 3 years. And so I'll be expecting that invite.
Yes. I'll be defending on the 23rd. Anyone on YouTube anybody like to come and watch? It's 12:30 p.m. on the 23rd. Yes, Dr. Navarro's changed the date at the time. And so, look, I would love to have you all attend if you want to nerd out on some really weird edu leadership topics. I'll be there. I'll send out a link if you want to come and attend.
You know I love your topic, so I will be there. But with that, John, do we have any public comments?
I'm looking at the inbox right now and see no public comments.
No Carissa? I miss her.
I'm sorry.
I know, right, Vasa? I see your face. No pressure, though. No pressure. We appreciate all her past comments. And we can always look again later. So with that, let's go ahead and kick off reports with Amber.
Hi again. So we had coffee talk this week. I mean, this week has been packed. Coffee talk, wave meeting, this board meeting. So it's been a really busy week. Coffee talk was fun, and I just appreciate that we have continued to do it. We actually bumped it up to once a month. So it's pretty wild, but our last coffee talk is next month, our last coffee talk of this school year, it's really quick. And so I think the coffee talks have been awesome. A lot of parents have said how much more accessible it's been, just like this meeting, that people who can't be on campus in the morning were able to watch it even a few days later. So I think it's just been a really great thing that we've done this year, and we've had it more often, which has worked really well with all of the return to school things. And it's been a great way to really get that information out and make it open to others for communication and for questions and for feedback. So I'm just really glad that we continue to do that and make it accessible. International Festival is coming up. We are really excited about that. It will go out to families on the 25th of April. And so we're accepting submissions until the 22nd. And it's just really beautiful. Tony Alexander put together this beautiful kind of world map, and it's interactive. So you can click on different locations, and then you get to see what families submitted. And we're really excited. There's videos where they're making food. There's just information that students love about their culture or traditions. There's recipes. There's a lot of great stuff. We're excited about that and excited to learn more about our Explorer families and then find a way to still make this work this year. So we're excited about that. Also, I'm excited about everything, apparently, because I've said that a lot. Staff appreciation is coming up next month. We have a team really working together to figure out how to make this, like Vasa was talking about, really show our staff that we appreciate them even when we can't be on campus. So we're really working on different ways to show our appreciation. We've reached out to lots of families, and they're excited to find ways to make this work. Even though we can't go on campus right now, we're going to still have a great week. So that kicks off May 3rd. And then, like I said, we're almost really towards the end of the school year, it just has gone by really fast. And so we're looking for committee members for next year, and we're really trying to brainstorm ways to, make some things still virtual and then roll out slowly see how things are going to go. So try to just be kind of organic and slow in our planning, but still try to have fun events. We had a science night a couple weeks ago, and I wasn't sure how it was going to go, but it was fantastic. Sierra Nevada Journeys came up with these activities that were great for kindergartners through 8th grade, and people were engaged and they learned, and so it was just a really great thing to test out. So it's exciting to see that we can find more avenues to get our families together in that virtual environment. So that's what we have going on right now, and still a lot going on, and I'm looking forward to the last 6 weeks or so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Amber. Yeah, keeping meetings like this virtual is something a lot of boards are trying to deal with because we don't know how. There's this expectation we're just going to go back how it was, but I mean that's sort of the worst thing we could do because we've learned over the last year. So I feel like we should use it. So it'll be interesting to see what the legislature decides to allow moving forward. With that brings us to Charter Impact and Shannon.
Thank you. So we started off with a couple of different quick presentations. First on the NUSD diversity recruitment, and kind of talked through what their efforts look like and what the outcomes of their efforts to diversify their staffing pool were. That's my highlight for right now. And then we walked through ours. I think for me the most interesting part was being able to walk through the hiring for the high school teachers that have been hired through our most recent recruitment process and walking through that in terms of self-identified racial breakdown, education levels, language other than English, and starting to look at how that relates to at least the K-8 population. And so then we had a discussion in terms of how can we learn from this and continue to move forward to make sure that we're diversifying and using equitable hiring practices and recruitment to keep and attract and retain teachers. So we talked about potentially still supporting a K-8 Innovators Conference. How can we do that in the future? How can we, like to the comment you just made, Hope, how can we continue to potentially facilitate these things in a virtual environment so that we can actually attract people who may not be able to physically come to something like that in the future, since we think that was a really key way that we got some of these great candidates. And then we're looking at how to document this. Well, our action items are to document this high school hiring and recruitment process for both historical purposes and for transparency so that we can be iterative in this process in the future to develop hiring practices and use that for retention as well. So I think that's it.
Good stuff.
I think that's it. Thank you, Shannon. Nancy in development.
Thank you. So the development team met a month ago, which seems really long ago. And we went through, I'm trying to think of what we did because it's been a month ago, but we're meeting again on Monday. So that's my refresh. The team had we developed specific deliverables for our first funding campaign, which is the 9th grade trip to Southern California to the Museum of Tolerance. And so I'm looking forward to the readouts of all the committee members and how far they've gotten during the last crazy month. So again, meeting again on Monday and looking forward to lots of progress. Hopefully, maybe.
I shouldn't laugh. Every time John and I have tried to meet, we've had something else come up, but we'll get it done this weekend.
I know you will. Yeah. I know you will because you guys are superstars. Thank you.
With that, finance, Sean.
All right, finance, short and sweet. We had comp, which is on the agenda for us all this evening, and then we had closed session. So that's what we did.
Thanks, Sean. And governance did not have a quorum tonight, so we went ahead and canceled the meeting, which then leads us to the executive director report.
Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you for, I'm sure you all read your board packet and you're ready to roll. I do have some strategic actions and updates to kind of lay down. I'll throw some slides up. I got a couple of celebrations, some great pictures of students back on campus, which is obviously like the the highlight celebration for this particular meeting. And we'll talk about reopening at increased capacity, which is just around the corner now. Very exciting time. I'll try to get through my slides, but I want to bring you up to speed on what's going on. It seems like a long time ago, but this was a home run right here. We did the virtual talent show 2021, and if you missed it, don't worry, it's still on YouTube. Has over 2,000 views, and great gig. Because it was virtual and not on the stage in the gym, we had acts like, magic acts where you could see close up what the student was doing. We had students on monkey bars. Couldn't have done that in the gymnasium. Amber Husted's son rocking out on the electric guitar, and the staff dance this year was off the charts. It was so good. Check out the virtual talent show. Tons of fun. Great to be part of the show. This is the big show right here, though, is welcoming back our explorers on campus. I mean, the protocols, practices, and procedures that we put in place to make this a safe transition back to campus can absolutely be seen just by stepping onto campus. The kids standing on dots, using thumbs up protocols, people making sure they're checking into school. I mean, it really felt safe right away, and the protocols are really helping kids transition in and out of class. Everyone seems to feel like it's going really well. There's kids outside playing in structured activities, collaborating in class using materials. It's just going very, very well. We're very proud of the work that the team's doing to bring all of our students back. What we love right now is that there's not only students back on campus in the classroom, but there's Mrs. Erickson, but you'll also see Mixits and lots of teachers using the outdoors again. So instead of bringing us back and getting us on Chromebooks in the classroom, you've been on Chromebooks all year. Come back to school and use this beautiful campus that's in full bloom in the middle of spring. It is a wonderful time to bring kids back to school, so it's going very well. This is a great celebration here, the Westlake Charter High School Signing Day, where our students got an opportunity with their families to drive through, walk through, or bike through the parking lot parade, stopping at 5 different stations to collect some Westlake Charter High School merchandise, to meet a bunch of their high school teachers. We had our founding teachers there. They got to sign this map frame. It's going to be part of a picture highlighting all of our founding freshmen. They all signed it. Very exciting. We had a little photo booth at the end. And of course, such in a Westlake fashion, they're putting together the photos and mailing them home so the kids get this great first freshman founding freshman photo. Just really good stuff. Let's dive into the show. We have strategic actions, quite a few of them, but I'll try and get through them here. There's a picture of the campus because I know you can't yet. No one's been on campus, but it's so beautiful in spring. Look at that picture right there. We're going to talk about, preparing for reopening for increased capacity on the 26th, onboarding some new staff members, already preparing for the fall, continuing our reflection, action, transformation work, certificated and classified compensation, and facilities. As far as preparing for reopening for increased capacity, we are going to talk about that kind of at length tonight in updates, but I just want to let you know, it happened through collaboration, right? We went to our leadership and with our staff and had an opportunity to really, make sure that we were crafting this in a way that felt good for our staff, that we were doing this together through a shared leadership sense. We were communicating with our families. We sent home letters and slides and videos, and it was in the coffee talk, and we're trying every single way we can to make sure everybody understands exactly what's expected as we come back. The logistics of preparation include lots of furniture moves. Whether you know it or not, we moved a bunch of furniture out of classrooms so that we could all spread out 6 feet apart. And now with more students coming back, we have to move furniture back in. Remember, our school loves flexible furniture, so we haven't always had one desk and one chair for one student. We always use a lot of shared tables. Well, if you're trying to stay 6 feet apart, that doesn't exactly work. So there's this mad shuffle right now to make sure everybody has the right furniture. Another thing that came up, and we'll talk about tonight, is Chromebooks. We have about 600 students who have borrowed Chromebooks, and we are so lucky to have the devices to loan out to our students so they can be successful in distance learning. So as we come back to campus, we're like, we'll have them bring those devices back. And then we thought, they'll need those devices on Wednesdays. They'll need those devices for the afternoon independent learning. So we started counting devices, making sure we have enough devices. Now, not that everyone's going to come back to school and jump on a device, but we do have to consider testing and things like that. And so we've done a mad scramble. We're configuring Chromebooks now, and we'll talk about that a little later. all of our protocol preparation has been great. How will we distribute lunches and breakfast, and we might have to tweak that because we're going to have over 700 students on campus as opposed to 300 students on campus. Arrival and dismissal, how does that look a little different with 700 students versus 300 students? And of course, our instructional protocols. Hey, I have 18 kids total in my class. What if 16 of them come back to school and I only have 2 in distance learning? That feels like a pretty small group. Can I collaborate with a partner and put 2 groups together so we can get more kids collaborating together? And so there's some conversations around that our staff are engaged in. I want to talk a little about onboarding new staff members because it's exciting. Here's the thing. It is April 15th, and our new high school staff, we are fully staffed at the high school. All your teachers, your counselor, your teacher on special assignment, you got your principal. That staff is already rocking. They're doing Voxer checks and book reads. They're creating culture now, and it is April 15th. That school is, months away from opening, but already that staff is creating a culture that you want them to have. The K-8 certificated staff, as of April 15th, fully staffed right now. We have one position that's out there. We have a second interview on Friday, but as of Friday, I think it'll be buttoned up. One new position I want to tell you about, and we just announced this to our staff. We have one MTSS TOSA, Katie Davis, just does a phenomenal job. And this year, as you recall, we reduced that second TOSA because we thought we were going to take this budget hit this year. And if the budget allowed, we were going to bring back a second MTSS TOSA this year. Well, we've been looking at that position, and we determined that, the MTSS TOSA typically helps out with academic intervention, but we also get a lot of social, emotional, and mental health referrals. And usually our counselor takes care of that. Well, as the kids have come back to campus, we recognize that our mental health referrals and our social, emotional referrals have escalated to a point that we've never seen before. So rather than hiring an MTSS TOSA, we've hired a second K-8 counselor. So budgetarily, it's kind of the same idea. It's a position for a position, but the counselor can do academic intervention just like the TOSA could have, but can also do that mental health and social emotional intervention that we deemed, critical right now. So not only will we have Jessica Cravoy, but a woman named Carly Fabry, who's fantastic. She's going to be joining the team, and we will have 2 K-8 full-time counselors on our K-8 campus as of the fall. So we're fully staffed, and we're already starting to onboard our new people. Mrs. Batten's doing a phenomenal job. I'll talk your ear off about what a great job she's doing at the high school, and so is Mrs. Kaya with a couple of the new people we're hiring for the K-8. But it's things like this. We're launching these Voxer chats. Voxer is this little app that you talk into and leave little voice thread messages. Well, we're doing like book chats and getting to know you chats, and the culture's already building way in advance. Here we are in April, already building that culture of togetherness and team. We've distributed books. You can see in the picture over there some books that are meaningful to us as a school. Patrick Lecione's 5 Dysfunctions of Team, and that shows how important we think teaming is. This book is Anti-Racist by Tiffany Jewell. That is a book that we believe is important for all of our staff to read, so we have some foundational understandings together. So there's these little boxes that went home to some new staff with some merchandise and some swag and some books to say, hey, welcome to Westlake. It's April, but you're already part of the team. Let's get started. So really exciting to see these new people get onboarded. Speaking of this phenomenal book, I'm going to ask this awkwardly. Board of Directors, did you get this book in the mail? Did it come to you? Darn it, I think they're sitting back there on the desk. My fault. Hey, I have a book for you that's been ordered. I also have a little swag we wanted to give you. This is a phenomenal read. It's written at the 8th grade level, so it's really consumable for anybody who wants to work with or around children. It opens up some conversations. It's 20 lessons, and it has some great reflective questions in the back. And we have launched it. It's funny, I was telling, Vasa, what was I telling you? I was telling somebody, a colleague of mine down in the East Bay is also doing a book study on this book. And he and I were talking via Voxer. He goes, I'm so excited. We're doing this book. This is the book we're reading. I said, oh, we're doing that book too. He's like, yeah, I did it all as a volunteer deal. And we've got 9 people in our book club. And I was like, that is awesome. We also are doing a volunteer deal and asked, who wants to be involved. And we had some people get involved too. I didn't tell them, we had like 55 people. Like, So our entire staff's like, yeah, I'll take a book. Yeah, we can read that. So we have over 50 people doing this book study, completely voluntary. It's all about it's professional learning through a reflective lens. We're not calling for action. We're just saying, hey, let's all reflect through this book, and really proud that this work is all being led by teachers who are part of our, social justice or reflection action transformation team. So if you're on a book study, it's led by people like Kim Erickson, Lila MacGyver, Amy Rice, Ashley Patel. These people just do a phenomenal job of leading these book studies. And we're just really proud that that's a voluntary piece of work that our staff is leaning in and self-directing. Really good stuff right there. And I apologize, your book is on the way. Totally my fault. Last two quick topics. This one is, we're going to talk about certificated compensation tonight, but I want you to know that Steve Corvink, as you know, absolutely walks on water when it comes to spreadsheet magic and budgetary genius. He's been working in the background for several months now so that we can arrive at a place where we are today, where we believe that we have a plan that fits well within the budget, that acknowledges the incredible work of everybody on this staff. So in alignment with goal area 1, objective 1, recruit, retain the highest quality staff, we have an action item tonight regarding certificated compensation, and I'll cover that later, and I'm sure you read about it in the board brief. But I wanted you to know that we also have action that we're going to take that's under my purview regarding all classified staff, classified and certificated management and administrative management, all are being considered as well in this budget going forward. What we plan to do is communicate with all staff in the week of May 3rd, which happens to be, Staff Appreciation Week, and so that everybody gets a little letter that says, hey, if you're a classified staff, we have this one-time bonus situation that's similar to the one-time bonus that happened in the fall for teachers. Here's what that looks like for teachers based on the compensation that we're hopefully taking action on tonight. We'll be communicating that, but really good work by Mr. Corvink and the finance team on the certificated side. But I wanted you to know that that is work that we've been strategically doing for months, and we're very proud to move it forward if it's approved tonight. And the last piece, you're going to hear some facilities talk tonight. The ECIC, right, the East Commerce Innovation Center has updated its plans to, and that's in tonight's high school report. I think you'll love this report. Some really fun stuff coming out tonight. And of course, we have long-term facilities planning in a closed session tonight. So a lot of strategic work around facilities going on. So the 5 topics that I just covered, right, facilities, comp, reflection, action, transformation. Any questions on the pieces that I just covered? I try to blow through them fast, but I want to be able to take questions. Good. The updates then are going to be just a quick one about some purchases made to help fully reopen, then reopening and increased capacity, and high school enrollment, just kind of a fun one that I want to throw out there tonight. We recall back in March of 2020, the board authorized the executive director to make expenditures that were appropriate to fully reopening. And as I indicated, some furniture pieces have been ordered so that we can reopen by the 26th in increased capacity, and some Chromebooks as well. And those have been totaled up, and I wanted to update you on those tonight. So we have a total of $87,000 worth of Chromebooks, $16,000 worth of science tables, and all of those are actually high school expenditures that we're borrowing from the high school to get through the end of this year. Thank you, high school. Those science tables will be great at the high school next year. Let's talk through reopening and increased capacity so everybody's on the same page about what we're planning. And please dive in if you have questions. I know we've kind of been talking about these same indicators all year, but here we are. We look at the blueprint for a safer economy. We look at the adjusted case rate in Sacramento County. We've gone from 63.3 cases per 100,000 in Sacramento County, all the way down to 7.8 in just a few months, right? So that's December 10th to April 13th. In 4 months, we've gone from 63 new cases per 100,000 per day to 7.8. And as you can see, 7.8 puts us in the substantial range, but we're hearing word on the street, if it keeps dipping down just a little bit, we'll move over to the moderate range. So Certainly lots of good things happening in Sacramento County around adjusted case rate. We would love our community to, continue working hard to keep that case rate continue to go down. But the big news is this 3-foot study performed by the Center for Disease Control. Really interesting study. The methods are here on the screen. They had about 500,000 students and about 100,000 staff members involved in this study in 251 eligible districts in Massachusetts. Some of them rural, some of them urban. Nice cross-section of Massachusetts public education. They took a look at these schools and they said everyone in these schools is using masks, washing hands. The only difference between the schools is some of these schools are going to space students out at 6 feet apart, and some of these schools are going to space students out at 3 feet apart. And we're going to find out if the transmission rate of COVID is more at one group or the other. So this finding basically says that there is no significant difference. They used a binomial regression for this, so I kind of nerded out on. I think Vasa would like that. But you get to decide. Do you want to be the blue line or the gray line? Those are staff. Or do you want to be the yellow line or the orange line? Those are students. And here's the legend for that. What you look at is the blue line is 3 feet apart. The gray line is 6 feet apart. Those are transmission rates for those two groups. And you can see they're virtually identical. Again, the orange is 3 feet apart. The yellow is 6 feet apart. And again, those transmission rates are virtually identical. So the findings from this study indicated, well, we don't think the difference between 6 feet and 3 feet is significant, and therefore you can go forward and keep people separated by at least 3 feet and think that it'll be safe as long as you continue to mask, wash your hands, and follow the other safety protocols. So I'm just going to unpack that for you because it has pretty big ramifications for school, right? The ramifications are currently our rooms can hold 20 students with 6 feet of social distancing. Okay, well that explains why we had to use kind of a hybrid A-B schedule because we have groups larger than 20. However, all rooms at our school can hold up to 28 children if you go down to just 5 feet apart. Isn't that funny? So it's not even all the way down to 3 feet apart. If you just went from 6 feet to 5 feet, we never would have had to do hybrid in the first place. It's nobody's fault. I've been learning. That's how science works. We've been learning as we go. But I'm like, my goodness, the difference of 12 inches right there is a massive change in the way we operate. And so we are currently configuring our rooms with furniture and, as I said, the Chromebooks so that we can reopen in increased capacity on April 26th. So that's a week from Monday coming up. We're very excited about it. I have to be fully transparent and tell you that when I asked the leadership staff, the teachers, hey, when do you want to reopen? Do you want to wait a couple weeks? They were like, can we get the kids yesterday? How about yesterday? How about 3 weeks ago? Can we get the kids now? Like, teachers were gung-ho and ready to go. So if there's any rhetoric out there in the media talking about teachers dragging their feet, they ain't talking about Westlake Charter School. Our staff was like, let's roll. I was the holdup. We're trying to move furniture. We're butting up against spring break. We didn't know how long it was going to take to get the Chromebooks in and configured. So we said, hey, we're going to just take the extra week, go slow, so that we get everything in place. And it worked out well because we're still getting a few of those furniture pieces in. But very, very, very proud of the staff. They're ready to go. They're ready to serve kids. Here's some scheduling assumptions so we all understand what we're talking about. We talk about increased capacity. I'm going to show you why we're doing what we're doing and how we compare to those around us, because I think nothing is good or bad unless compared, and I think that's what we all naturally do. So we're staying with the current configuration, meaning that if you're on campus, you'll meet with your teacher on campus in the morning session, but if you're at home, you'll have your teacher's undivided attention in your digital session in the afternoon. So it's a split day, morning versus afternoon. We keep that day split in half so each group of children get an equitable amount of time, right? These guys get 2.5 hours, these guys get 2.5 hours. It's your turn to have the full attention of the teacher, and then it's your turn to have the full attention of the teacher. Okay, So increased capacity is 4 days a week. Well, why isn't it 5 days a week? From the very beginning, last March, we said we were committed to our mission statement of academic and social emotional, and a part of that social emotional was keeping our community together. One of the most important things that we've talked about this entire year and throughout this entire pandemic is not losing connection with our children, not letting people slip through the cracks, and really combating isolationism. Well, some people have made, in every school's had to make hard decisions, right? But our school has said, we value this as much as we value anything else. Some schools have said, well, we can move faster if we took the distance learning kids, took them away from their teacher and their classmates, put them in a distance learning class, and that's the distance learning class, and have the rest of the students, fill in and come into school with a teacher. So we have on-campus teachers and distance learning teachers, and we're seeing some people do that. I think the students who are isolated at home deserve to stay with their classmates who they've gone through an entire year of pandemic with. They deserve to stay with their teacher because that is the person who knows them best and knows when they're having a good day or a bad day. So that's what we've decided to do. The other thing we see is some people taking the distance learning kids, putting them in a distance learning teacher. But what about these kids who are coming to school? What if they have a tummy ache? What are they supposed to do? In our model, if you have a tummy ache, don't come to school in the morning. In the afternoon, you'll see your teacher. Just log on and you'll get the exact same lesson as all your colleagues in the afternoon. In the other model, if you take kids and put them in a distance learning class, a student who has a tummy ache can't come to school and can't see their teacher, so they either have to miss school or somehow attend a distance learning class with a teacher they don't know, a bunch of classmates they don't know, and might be on a pacing guide that isn't the same as they're in class. And so I think there's a lot of virtue to keeping our students together, not only for social emotional, but for academic reasons as well. So they stay with their teacher, they stay with their classmates, and students can all be together on Wednesday. That our distance learning students and our on-campus students will all remain one classroom community every Wednesday, and that's why we're 4 days a week instead of 5 days a week. So if I have any questions on that, I'd love to take them. I hope I didn't overspeak to the topic, but I think as we compare, school to school, hours to hours, minutes to minutes, I think our model serves our students incredibly well academically and social emotionally. And I just want to make sure that we are all aware of why we made the decisions we made. So the next slide will show you how we compare to those around us. Again, the AM-PM split, although it's a shortened day, offers a full 2.5 hours to each group so that everybody gets equitable time with the teacher, because we know the number one facilitation, the number one difference maker in the student learning trajectory is the influence of that teacher who knows your child by name and by need. And so we want to keep our child with the teacher for the maximum amount of time. We see other people using the Zoom in the room, but when you're using that model, yes, you can kind of get everybody together for a longer period of time, but what we're seeing is teachers in classrooms looking at a Zoom screen, and right across the room is 20 other kids also looking at a Zoom screen, and kids at home looking at a Zoom screen, and they're not going outside, they're not using the campus, and the teacher's having to split their attention, and really, you can't really do live instruction on your feet if you have the Zoom. So really what you're doing is just doing distance learning in the presence of other people, and that's just not the model we thought was the best instructional pedagogy for the way we like to facilitate learning. So we want to make sure that our kids have the full attention of their teacher, whether they're in the classroom or in the distance learning model. And then we're assuming, when we talk about scheduling assumptions, we're assuming this is our last change of the year. Hashtag no jinx. We think this carries us out till June, and then we think in the fall things look much more normal, but that is our assumption right now. So we are 4 days a week. You saw why, because we keep our students with the teacher, we keep our students, keep the teacher focused on one group at a time, and keeping our classroom community. Now, our colleagues at Untitled Charter School, they're going 5 days a week, but they did reorganize their students. And so, again, everyone has to make their own decisions based on their own mission statement and what they're trying to accomplish. I know it's working well for them in a lot of ways. In other ways, I've heard them say, the distance learning class, sometimes, we'll have 40 kids on a screen because, everybody in that grade level went to one distance learning teacher. So there's some pluses and minuses to all of these different methodologies. MP3 is 4 days a week, and they're kind of splitting. They have the reorganized classes for the younger grades, and for the older grades, they're doing the Zoom in the room. And then, the Natomas Unified School District is also 5 days a week, but again, they're doing the Zoom in the room. And so I know it's easy to compare 4 days versus 5 days. I really like where we landed for the reasons that we landed there, and I want to make sure the board was aware of all the decisions we made. This last slide is just our guidelines, and we want to remind anybody listening, that we're going to continue to follow the recommendations of the Sacramento County Public Health Department, that we're going to continue to mask and socially distance, require students and staff to stay home when they're experiencing symptoms, and that we all need to work together, that it's not over. The pandemic's not over. Nobody should take a little Tylenol and come in even if they have a little fever. That is not how we're operating. We are requiring everyone to continue to follow the safety protocols because, knock on wood, we've not experienced a classroom closure yet, but they're happening everywhere around. So we want to not ever incentivize people to break these rules. We want to make sure that our rules make it easy to stay home if you're sick because you'll still see your teacher in the afternoon. And homework materials for everybody, yourself included, is we have an updated return to school guidebook coming out this weekend for our families with some new protocols since we're going to be all back 4 days a week. And we're having our families review the orientation materials if it's their first time back on campus. So any questions on the reopening plans on the 26th? Any questions, thoughts, or concerns, board? No? Figure to smile if you like part of it. Thank you, Shannon. Thank you, Sean. Okay, thank you, Nancy. Good. All right, good. We're super excited to have the kids back. It is going to be awesome. Okay, Emily Batten, you said I could steal this, so thank you for letting me have it. I wanted to end the show with something kind of cool and fun, and I typically do enrollment updates for our board, and I've never done an enrollment update for 9th grade, but I thought, we have an update for you, and it's appropriate. So let's talk enrollment in the 9th grade. Our original projection was budgeted for no less than 85. When we talked to the Silicon Schools team as they're coaching us about opening a high school, remember, they've helped to open over 60 high schools. They're like, hey, enrollment's the big deal. You got to try and bring as many kids with you as you can. We talked to them about targets. We said, well, we want to be 125. And they've told us, hey, look, don't budget for 125 because it's likely you'll open a little lower because a lot of schools do. So we originally said, we definitely got to hit the 85 mark. And early on, we were like, oh boy, I hope we can. We were nervous. Well, at some point during the process, we, realized, I think we're going to hit that 85 mark. And so we kind of upped our game and said, okay, we've increased our projection. We have now budgeted for 125, which is the maximum enrollment we thought we were going to have because 125 times 4 equals 500 kids at a high school, and our charter says that our high school will be no bigger than 500. So we're like, let's go for it. Let's make 125 the target. And that was scary because we're like, are we going to get 125 or what if we get 114? We're going to be a little short. Okay. So we're just, somewhere along the line though, we thought, what's the stretch goal? What's the what if? I mean, what if you got 125 and a 126th kid walked? Would we turn them away? Well, we thought about it. We said, well, I guess we could go for 150 your freshman year. Because then what would happen is your sophomore year, 6 kids moved to Nebraska, Idaho, Wyoming, and Roseville. And your junior year, 3 kids moving. And you could see the natural matriculation, and you're less likely to get juniors and seniors, transferring in. So we asked around. People said, hey, NB3 over budgets freshman year. So we said, okay, the stretch goal is 150. But, we're not going to get to 150. Right? That's not. There's it. So guess where we are today? As of this morning, we have 142 students currently enrolled, signed in blood, wearing the swag, WCHS on the shirt, 142 kids in our school that are freshmen, and we have 8 kids who have received a packet that says you've been offered, which means by the end of this weekend, you could be at $150. Those 8 kids say yes, and we could be at 150, over-enrolled by 25 on April 17th or whatever this weekend is. And we have 28 kids currently on the wait list. So what that means is we need to continue to fill that wait list. So you can see that little publication on the right there. It's a SAC News and Review publication. We'll continue to work on that in the background. We're going to start distributing it. And we're going to continue to push this idea that, hey, now is a good time for you to get on our wait list, because that wait list, you might be able to get in. Because we know over the summer, things move, things wiggle. We could be at 150 tomorrow, and we could be all the way back down to 125 in August. And so we want to keep pushing that wait list and keep recruiting. But, board, I got to tell you, a lot of people have had their finger on this project, right? Melissa Grunholtz has operated the lottery. Monica Darris, helped out with a bunch of the Twitter stuff and the Facebook thing. Every single person on this board and this staff have put the word out there. But nobody deserves more credit for our success right now than our high school principal, Emily Batten. She has called every 8th grade family to the point where they're like, fine, we'll come to your school. Quit calling us. She has been on fire. So really, Emily Batten's done a phenomenal job. We're super excited about 142. I got to tell you, internally, that is not what we thought was going to be the case on April 15th. And we're going to keep grinding it out. And I'm going to tell you, we're pretty confident that we're going to try and open around 150, over-enrolled by 25, which has some, all kinds of implications. Your sports teams are a little more full. Your rallies are a little more loud. Your clubs are a little more rounded out. Your affinity groups are a little more diverse, and your budget has a little more dollars in it. So great job to the whole team. Any questions on that, team? That one you can give a smile to if you want. I'll take a smile on that one. Love it. Love it. All right. It is back to you, Hope. That's the end of my presentation.
Thanks, John. Would you mind checking to see if we got any public comments?
I will check that now.
Thank you. And while John does that, if board members could look over our consent agenda and think about if they have any questions or not, that'd be great.
When you're ready, Hope, there are 2 comments, it seems.
Perfect. Go ahead.
Sorry, it's 1 comment, because the first one, she said, I had a typo. Read this one instead. She's so good. She's so good. All right. Sorry, go ahead and read it now.
Yes, please.
Yes, this is from Carissa Richards Johnson. She says, read this one because the first one had a typo. It says, can I celebrate all of you for appreciating my comments? Yeah. I can't help but share my appreciation for our wonderful Westlake volunteers, teachers, and staff. For example, when the CDC reduces the distance guidelines down to 3 feet, I breathed a sigh of relief when Westlake decided to let the students and staff get on campus together for a few weeks to learn to navigate this new structure before moving to increased capacity. That kind of caution and thoughtfulness is obvious in every decision and is much appreciated. And before Dr. Lockteff goes on paternity leave, congratulations. He is a shining example, parenthesis, along with Mrs. Patel, on parenthesis, of the stellar teachers we are so fortunate to have caring for our children. Thank you, Carissa Richards Johnson. Amy, I will forward this to you to include it in the minutes.
Thank you, John. I'm so glad that we got to hear from her tonight. So with that brings us to our consent agenda. We have 3 items on tonight. If there aren't any questions, I will look for a motion to approve. Okay, so Nancy will move.
Oh, I didn't. Okay. I didn't get a word edgewise, but I'm happy to second.
Okay, but I think Jed was first.
Yes.
Okay, so sorry, Josh. Next one. Nancy, you'll be the second.
Thanks.
And then, Amy, will you please do a roll call vote?
Yeah. Yes. Sorry. Hope?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Josh?
Yes.
Vasa?
Yes.
Ashley?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
And Jed?
Yes.
Great, thanks. So that brings us to our first action item tonight, which is accept and approve certificated compensation proposal.
There we go. There we go. Hi, it's me again. let me put these slides up. I know you all had an opportunity to review the board packet, and thank you for doing so. I'll just kind of talk through a couple of slides and then seek approval for this item, and certainly I'll take any questions that you might have. First big shout out, obviously, is to the finance team and Mr. Korvink for all their hard work on this important topic, and it's really been well facilitated. The finance team or committee it has a goal to facilitate the compensation review process. Just want to talk real quickly about the word facilitate. At one point, that was to develop, to even come up with it. Remember 5 years ago, team, like we were like, we have to come up with a compensation review process. You guys have done a ton of work as a team. Sean, Hope, big shout out. Your goal now is to facilitate the compensation review process to ensure it is predictable, transparent, and aligned to the organization's strategic plan and required financial reporting. And so that's what is the kind of impetus for this work. Look, this is one of the busiest committees that we have. This finance team, look at their year. In August, they're doing the spring 2020 review. In October, they updated the geographic and similar schools matrices. By December, they had a budget outlook and looking at all the staffing needs for next year. Remember, and this year, they had an increased staffing needs. We were looking already ahead of high school. By January, there are possible, certificated salary considerations and looking what was possible. February, they came back with a proposal and a draft schedule, potentially looking at action. By March, they approved the proposal before the board meeting this evening. I mean, really a consistent kind of method to the madness. And so just big shout out and a thank you to Hope Golick, Sean Berman. You guys are so dedicated. You do such great work. So thank you for a whole year of work to get to tonight. I know it's kind of a squint, but I love to put it on the screen. We have this geographic schools matrix. It's geographic because these are the districts and schools that are near us. I suppose if you weren't going to work at Westlake Charter School and you're thinking, well, where else can I go that's close to here and I could drive to? These are those schools: Natomas Unified School District, Woodland, Rockland, Twin Rivers. However, these schools aren't very much like our schools in that they're not funded similarly based on, several of them have high schools, so they have higher funding. Some of them have much higher concentrations of students of poverty, and so they get, concentrated funding rates. But we like to compare geographically because competitively, that's kind of what we're doing when it comes down to interviews, recruit, retain. You can see right here the current schedule. If we just use this year's schedule against next year's matrix here, we would be off by 4.87%. So we'd be on average about 4.87% lower than our geographic competitors. With this proposed schedule, that brings it within 1.29%. Okay, being within 1.29% of these large, organizations that have significant ability to pay a higher rate, that's interesting to look at. We also have this similar schools matrix. Now, why do we have this? Well, these schools are about our size, have about the similar demographic that we do, and therefore are funded in a similar way based on their level of unduplicated students in their organization. So dollar for dollar, we get the same amount of money that these schools do, so it's a better comparison. It's not a great comparison for recruiting because I don't know that everybody's looking at, driving out to Pollock Pines versus Westlake, but that school district right there looks a lot like our school district when it comes down to size and dollar for dollar. On this matrix, you can see that we outperform our similar schools currently by 2.9%. And on this proposed schedule that we're asking for tonight, we outperform these schools by 6.78%. So we are asking, I'll put these both up here together. We're asking for the proposal tonight to increase compensation for our certificated teaching staff so that we are more competitive on both of these two matrices. Will be negative 1.29% on the geographic and positive 6.78% on the similar schools matrices. We have obviously built our budget based off the governor's January proposal, and the total salary impact about $137,000 in the 21-22 budget. We certainly have the capacity in the budget for this proposal. And certainly we'll take any questions you have about this, but we do recommend approval should you move? Josh?
John, can you bring up the chart that's in the board brief? It's got the different steps 1 through 30.
Oh yeah. We can go to that. Give me just a second. Let me click there. It might be easier for me with my squinting eyes. Are you talking about the step and column salary?
Yes, sir.
Steps. Yeah, let me find that here. Board brief.
Yeah, I was just looking for a little more clarification on that chart.
Sure.
Kind of outlining what it is on the left-hand side where it has step, 1 through 30.
Yeah.
Is that years of service?
Yeah, great call, Josh. In the edu industry, we call this step and column, right? The column that you're on is based on a set of factors, typically on the number of units you've acquired. So if you're a brand new teacher with a teaching credential, you're in column 1. You go out and get a master's degree. You move over to maybe column 2 or column 3. Gosh, you're getting your doctorate or you're getting more units. You move all the way over to column 5. So each column is based on a set of units that you've acquired to improve your professional craft. So those are your columns. Your steps are straight years. And let me scroll down here, Josh, and get that for you. Let me zoom in a little bit for you too. Right, so you see in the top of the column, Josh, it says class 1 is a bachelor's plus 30 units. That 30 units is typical of a credential program. If you go get a teaching credential, it's somewhere between 30 and 45 units. So if you come out of Sac State with a bachelor's degree and a teaching credential, you're probably in class 1. If you then go get 15 more units over some summer courses, you move to class 2. Maybe pick up your master's degree, move to class 3, and each year you go down, and each class you go over. So when we're staffing, for example, Josh, we'd say, "Oh, Josh is coming to us from another school. He's got 5 years of experience, and he's a class 3. He's right there." Does that clear that up?
Yeah, I guess my question was, so under step where it has 1 through 30, is that years experience?
Yes, sir.
Or is that units?
No, the steps are years. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess my question is, as we're looking to retention, as we get down to year 10 versus year 30 in each category, there's not a whole lot of difference.
Yeah, we're moving.
What is the motivation?
You don't want somebody sitting 30 years in class 1. When I hire a brand new teacher, which I do all the time, I say, "Hey, welcome to Westlake Charter School. My job is to move you across this chart. I don't want you sitting in class 1 because we have said all along, one of our values really is when I stop learning, my kids stop learning. So that's why we invest in professional development every other Wednesday.
Nope.
So our whole deal is like, welcome to the industry, friend. Let's move you across the. And if you think about it, Josh, say you start up in a 1-1 top left column, and every 3 years you pick up 15 units, it's going to take you 15 years to get down to column 5. You see that? So really, you should just kind of, as an administrator, my job is to be, hey, friends, let's keep moving you over. Because you want your people growing. Look at who's on this screen. Ashley's getting a master's degree. Vasa's getting a doctorate. Like, our people are constantly investing in their education, and that's good for our kids. Cool?
Nope, that answers my question. Thank you, John.
Team, any other questions, anybody? Clearly, I'm excited about the topic.
Sean, did you have anything you wanted to add as the chair of the Finance Committee? Don't feel pressured. I just wanted to give you the opportunity.
I really don't, because the board brief was so excellent that I would just be saying the same thing that I know our well-prepared board has all read, so I will not be repetitive.
Perfect. Are there any other questions from the board? And at this point, I need to ask both Vasa and Ashley not to vote on this item, please, because it directly affects your compensation and it creates a conflict for you. But that doesn't mean you can't ask questions. If there, oh yes, so Vasa just shared that Grimaldi just got her master's in Spanish, which is awesome. So if there are any other questions, I'll look for a motion to approve.
Can I move it? Or is it weird? Then I will move it.
I'm actually going to second it. I don't do that often, but I'm proud of this proposal and the work we've done, so I'd like to second it. Amy, will you please take the vote?
Yes. Hope?
Yes.
Sean?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Josh?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
And Jed?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. And yay. That brings us to our second action item this evening, which is accept and approve resolution in support of anti-racism and pro-inclusion reflection, action, and transformation. John, would you mind just sort of kicking this off?
Sure. I didn't put together slides on it, but I'm very proud of the work that the team has done to put together this resolution. Back in the summer of 2020, obviously this board produced a letter for our community, standing with our African-American community after the death of George Floyd. And then here we are again in the spring of 2021. Our school produced a letter to our Asian American Pacific Islander community, standing with our community to say, hey, we recognize the horrible hatred and violence that has happened within this community, and we stand with our community because we serve such a diverse community. We want to make sure everyone recognizes that this school stands with our community. At which point, I had an opportunity to speak with Hope and a few other members and say, hey, I think it's appropriate that we have a resolution that we can all stand by so that when these horrific events do transpire, that there's no moment of pause for anyone within this organization to be able to produce a letter that says we stand with our community and we stand behind this resolution that clearly identifies that we have taken a stance as a school and as a board that says, we recognize inequalities and inequities that produce disparate outcomes for children, and that it's our charge to be an anti-racist and pro-inclusive institution and work in that direction. So we're excited about the work. We're certainly willing to take feedback and adjustment, but any questions, thoughts, concerns about this topic? Very good.
And if there aren't any, then is there a motion to approve the resolution?
I'll move.
I'll second.
Perfect. So Shannon and Ashley, sorry. With that, Amy, will you please take the vote?
Yes. Maybe. Yes. Hope?
Yes.
Sean?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Josh?
Yes.
Asa?
Yes.
Ashley?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
And Jed?
Yes.
Okay. With that brings us to future agenda items. I don't really have anything listed out particular under this topic tonight, other than to remind you that with May and June comes committee appointments and assignments, staff elections for our annual meeting in June. And so just keep those things on your radar. Yes, Amy?
Can we make it a future agenda item to collect all the Form 700s?
Yes.
That was really just my way of working that into the conversation.
Yes. So everyone turn in their Form 700s to Amy. Don't make me institute the penalties, even though I'm pretty sure I'm one of them. But anyway, that's okay. I didn't just doubt myself. But yeah, so make sure you get your Form 700s done. And if you have any questions about how to fill those out, feel free to reach out. I am more than happy to help. But with that brings us to, so we might as well go ahead and do reflection, right, John? Or does it feel weird? Do I just go into closed session?
You know what? I guess we're out of order, and I apologize. Hope, I'm looking on this agenda. We have Mrs. Batten here with us. Her presentation isn't on the agenda because I think it's tacked on to my presentation. So I apologize. It just dawned on me right now. The high school presentation isn't on the agenda. It was part of the executive director's report. So I probably can't go back to it, huh?
But you got so excited with the numbers, right? You just forgot to kick it over to her?
No, it's just that her slides fell in after the comp slides. So I got the comp slides, I stopped, and I should have moved her slides up above the comp slides so that I included her. So yeah, we would have to go.
So it was both. You were too excited and you didn't have a visual cue.
Totally. So we would have to go back to the executive director's report if we wanted to do that item. If not, we could bring it back next month. No problem.
I say let's go ahead and do that since Vasa's having technical issues anyway. That will buy us some time before we go into closed session. And Emily's presentations are often a highlight of the evening.
Exactly.
Is the board okay with us going back? If you're not okay, speak now or forever hold your peace. Everyone looks excited, so let's kick it to Emily.
Sorry about that, Mrs. Batten. Sorry, everybody.
No, I'm sorry, team. I could have. Oh, sorry.
Full disclosure, that's probably John and my fault, Emily. I have to take some responsibility for this.
Let's all apologize.
I feel like I may have had a hand.
It's a short one. So thank you for having me back again. And Mr. Reich mentioned some East Commerce Innovation Center updates. And so I'm going to walk through a couple of those pieces and share with you some of the work that we're doing on our East Commerce Innovation Center and some of the plans. We are still in quarter 5 and soon we'll be at the end of quarter 5. So that's something. Quarter 5 highlights, as Mr. Egg mentioned, we have our staff on board. They are beginning staff professional development, and at Westlake Charter School, that looks like onboarding. We know the importance of building relationships, and we talk about that all the time, about relationships between staff and students, but relationships between adults is really that foundation. And so we have a Voxer chat going, and then if you've never used Voxer before and are interested, we'd be happy to get you into a Voxer conversation. It's a really fun way to just share thoughts and comment back and forth. And in an additional effort to build community, we had our 9th grade signing day, and that was a really amazing event, both for our 9th grade staff and our students. So it was kind of a dual piece there together. I guess we're really beginning staff professional development because it's on there twice and highlighted twice. So we're just doubling down on that, but we are looking forward to continuing with some book discussions through that Voxer chat and some other staff professional development pieces over the next few months. Our East Commerce Innovation Center project is trucking right along with furniture, so some of the pieces that will go inside the building, but then also some of the physical improvements that we're planning to do to the building and the outside space. We had a really fun week of walking I think it's the Del Paso Marketplace, our neighboring shopping center, and we walked through all of those businesses, masked and socially distanced, and passed out our high school profile, introduced ourselves to them. I'm talking about myself like I'm multiple people. Introduced myself to the managers. Some of them actually gave us some pieces to give to our students at 9th grade signing day. So I'm really excited to partner with those businesses and see what else we can develop there. And then we are currently working with NUSD as well as some other local area. Amy celebrated spouses. I need to celebrate Ashley Patel's spouse. Raveen Patel and I have talked about lunch program, and he's got a lot of really great ideas. And so we're partnering together to see what we can bring in Amazius with our lunch program. And we have a group of families that are really interested in being part of that discussion. So we have a meeting set up with them just to talk about lunch and how we can make sure that we're providing that service to our students. So let's jump into the building. We've talked, I'm sure all of you have watched I think we're at, Mr. Ike, an hour, 20 minutes of videos total at this point. So our most recent video, which was our facility and kind of talking about the location of our high school, we talked about this space called the Student Commons, and that this space really would be the heart of our school. And just the pure space alone. If you've ever walked onto East Commerce campus and gone into that back left corner or back right corner of the building, there's this room that has high ceilings and cement walls and looks super industrial. But then in that corner, there's just a wall of windows. So it's this little jewel box that when I walk into it, I can just see students collaborating, connecting. And so it would have been really easy to walk into that space and buy 50 long wooden tables with 50 long wooden benches and call it a cafeteria and be done with it. But, thanks to the work that the team who designed and developed Westlake Charter K-8 put into that building, we know that when we look at spaces, we should be innovative and we should think about the multiple potential uses of that space. And so what you're looking at now is the final fabric schemes, actual furniture pieces that have been ordered and will be on a truck shortly heading towards East Commerce, and this will make up our student commons. So this space has seating for over 100 students, and we look at that, we're like, oh, but you just said you have 150 students. Well, we know that typically that in a high school cafeteria, everyone's not walking in, getting lunch, and sitting down, right? We're going to have students who choose to sit inside. Talk to you in a minute about another area that they may hang out in. So there are several areas that they may go during that lunch period. So we feel like 100 seats in that space is, or just over 100 seats is going to be sufficient for that space. And that this space will not just be lunch and that's it, and never used again. We see our flex blocks being utilizing this space during that flex block time for both academic and social emotional flex block time, club meetings, school-wide events, community events. Amber and I were talking about this space and another space, like, ooh, what could we do in these spaces? So we're really excited, and that it was designed after a college student union. When we talked to our furniture design, interior design team, we shared with them multiple pictures of the amazing Travelocity's workspace, their cafeteria space. Some really phenomenal college student unions where there's just different seating, right? Couches, booths, high tables, low tables, seating for two people. I got to talk to I'm going to cut myself off because I'll just talk about this all day. I'll just say one more thing. I got to talk to our eighth grade student group about this space. And they're like, there's spaces where just two of us can sit. And sometimes that's something we don't think about. But if you're somebody who feels really comfortable talking to one person and isn't going to be the person who has the big group, or maybe you want to come in and sit by yourself in a traditional cafeteria, you sit down at the table and it would be so obvious that no one else is sitting around you, and the social emotional impact of that can be tremendous. And so when we create these different seating arrangements, students get to choose what feels right for them in a space that can sometimes be overwhelming. So we're excited about this space. I will now stop talking about it and we can go on to the next one. So here's our outdoor space. Everybody, we're so excited about it. How does everyone feel about this space? Are we feeling like it looks great? And these are not the smiles that we had for the last one. So this is the currently the image of the 10,000 square feet that exists outside of our East Commerce Innovation Center. I'll say that again, 10,000 square feet. I think until our landscape architect came out and measured it, I didn't know that it was that big. It just it doesn't feel that big until you start looking at it from kind of a bird's eye view. And so we've been working with an amazing landscape architect team, and they've been taking our ideas. It feels like we're back in the design process for our K-8 where we got to sit around a table and share ideas. And so this space will be transforming into, ta-da! I'm going to walk you through four distinct areas in this space. This is the aerial view, so you're looking down on top of the outdoor space. If you envision the commons, the outdoor space is just falling right behind that commons. So we've got a nice flow of traffic between the two. Mr. Eggle, in the interest of time, we'll go to the next slide. Thank you. So we're going to highlight first what we're calling our chill zone. And I as I was typing this on a board slide, I was like, do I really want to call it that? But that's what it's called, so we're going to go with it. The chill zone is sort of this we used to talk about our K-8 campus being like a hug. You'd walk in the middle of it and you'd feel kind of surrounded by it. And I look at this space and it reminds me of the same thing. So there's over 300 plants in the entire area. So I don't want to think that there's 300 plants just in this space, but the space is planted with over 300 plants. You see that brown retaining wall that's actually going to act as a bench for student seating. And so it's a little bit raised and those planters are raised behind it. There's access to the gym. So we talked about well, what about those just 100 seats, right? The students are going to be in the commons eating. They can access the gym with the basketball courts and then come in and out of the gym into the outdoor space. Our next zone is our outdoor classroom, so outlined there in red. And some spaces in the outdoor classroom that I just want to highlight that similar to our classroom spaces, there's spaces for high and low seating in the outdoor classroom. Our landscape designers have given us some amazing plans for some rollable like dividers that have whiteboards on the side of them. So you've got some flexible furniture out there that mimics the inside of that classroom space. I'll do a call to action in a little bit. It's like the lottery all over again, where I was like, tweet it out, share it. We'll have another similar call to action. Something that I do want to pause and just highlight in this that runs alongside of this outdoor classroom space is the entrance ramp. So for those of you who have been familiar with East Commerce over the years that different schools have used that space, it's not an easy space to access if you have mobility issues, right? So if you are in a wheelchair or using a walker or any sort of, it is a very steep non-ADA approved ramp that leads from the commons down to the current entrance of our outdoor space. And so a non-negotiable for our team was to install an ADA approved ramp off of the side of the building so that any student, no matter what their need was, could access that ramp. So we will all be able to access that space easily. And so that ADA ramp you'll see running along the side of that space, and we're excited about that piece. We also have a lunch zone, and know that each of these spaces are going to be used for multiple things. So they've got a name in them, but they are used for different pieces. So the lunch zone has a deck area and then a little snack shack off to the side. So you can fit many students out there. We're looking to do some shade out there, hopefully get some shade structures over that space so that it's shaded for students in the hottest part of the day. And then the final zone out of the 4 zones we're going to highlight tonight is our activity zone. So knowing that the big gross motor play, the basketball and running and things like that will take place in our gym, but that we wanted to have an outdoor space that students could come and play. I was wondering how this would play with students, and our 8th grade team, who got a kind of a sneak peek of this earlier this week, were like, is that cornhole? They were leaning into the screen and so excited about it. And so there was talk about some cornhole competitions. Maybe, is that ping pong? And is that, what are those tables over there? And I was like, that's what we're going to decide. So a flexible space for games and activity, and that they can change and rotate out. So it's not programmed for one thing, that it can be used for many different pieces. So how can we help, right? Here's the call to action. This space is going to be amazing. We're so excited to get to work on it. We've already been putting out to our families that if you have a person who is handy with woodworking, to sign them up. As Nancy said earlier in the meeting, tell them that they're part of this project. So we've got a good team of people who are ready to start building outdoor furniture and some of those other flexible pieces. In the coming weeks, we're working on a website to ask for donations of supplies or donations to features for the outdoor space. So this will truly be, a community effort to bring this space to fruition. We're very excited about it, and so we look forward to some days in summer calling everyone together, and similar again to the K-8 Blue Table building. If any of you took part in the Blue Table building undercover dining, doing a similar project out in that outdoor space, planting, spread and bark, getting the space ready for our high school students. So if there's anybody who wants to sign up, there's a Bitly, they can email me, and then it will be in the Westlake Weekly for the next few weeks, the ways to sign up for that space. Sorry, I was like, I'm going to be fast, but I just start talking about these pieces and I get excited. Thank you, guys.
Very exciting. Very exciting. Any questions for Mrs. Batten about our amazing East Commerce Innovation Center? We'll go with Patel and then Shannon.
Just a comment. It looks amazing, and we can talk offline. Home Depot and Lowe's store specific, so each individual store, not as a corporation, have a really slick, quick process and are always very giving to schools.
Cool.
And so if we have, maybe your volunteer is like, who would like to drive and drop this letter off to every store, it's about that easy. So we can talk offline about that.
Awesome. Thanks, Ashley.
Thank you. Straight from the development team there. Shannon?
This is only tangentially related, so you can tell me to ask this later. But in very Shannon fashion, I'm wondering, is there an update to the ways to Westlake High School, and is there bike parking in existence?
I'm so glad you asked that, Shannon.
It was like a plant in the audience. Go ahead, Mrs. Batten.
Yeah. So I'm actually speaking Melissa Ming, who some of you may or may not know, a really great partner of ours from what is now Jibe, formerly Natomas. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that it's North Natomas Transportation, but anyway, so she and I have been in communication throughout the past few months, and so one of the pieces we've been talking about has been bike parking, in particular just because there isn't currently bike options. So we are in the process of completing a grant with Jibe to either do the bike lockup on parking lot conversion spaces. So they would come and help us do that piece. I just reached out to one of our colleagues today who I was like, I need some ideas and thoughts. And so she's going to come walk this space with us next week to not only ensure that we have adequate bike parking, but also that, we actually have a 9th grade student who's been a really amazing advocate for biking and our biking community, and not just adequate bike lockup, but like pumps and gear, fix-it stations and things like that. So they were excited to help us with that piece. And then we're also working with Jibe on alternative transportation options and potentially being part of some of their routes and things like that. So we're excited about helping to guide our community to this campus and connecting them to the campus and connecting our K-8 with our 9-12, right? So that we are seamlessly one school. Sorry, Shannon, I cut you off. I was like, I hope Shannon asked about bikes because I just had a great conversation with her.
I'm nothing if not consistent.
That's right. Should have seen that one coming. That was a good one. That was good. Any other questions, thoughts, or concerns about the East Commerce Innovation Center, the outdoor space, the indoor space, any of it at all? It's very exciting. You notice the ground is painted. That's not just for affect. That's legitimately going to be painted out there, which will give the space very visual cues as to where you want people to go and where they're going to be gathered. It's going to be really nice.
Shuffleboard, shuffleboard.
2 words. Shuffleboard.
Add it to the list of possible activities because nothing beats shuffleboard.
It's good.
Great.
Thank you, Mrs. Batten.
Thank you.
Well
Thank
done.
you.
All right, sorry about that, team. I know I pulled us out of where we were back to this, so I'll take us back to the end again. So, Hope, back to you.
Okay, I think John, if it's all right with you, I'd rather just go into closed session. But before we do that, will you please make one last check for public comment?
Absolutely. I see no public comments.
Okay, so with that, I'll go ahead and adjourn the public portion of the meeting. That we expect no report out of closed session, but if you're interested to find out if any of that changes, you can always email admin@westlakecharter.com to find out more. But with that, we're staying here. We're going to stop the recording and say goodnight.
I'll sign off the YouTube now. Thank you, everybody.
And then, does anyone need can we take a 5